Okay, so Kathy, then let's jump right in. And what I want to know is basically your story, because especially when we are in jobs and businesses and careers where we're helping other people, I feel like there's always a story of how you got there. So tell us how you ended up being a coach and especially how you got into empowerment and confidence.
Yes, thanks for asking that question. It's so true. I feel like anybody who's being a coach, there's a purpose or something that to it. So for me, my story actually began when I went through infertility issues in 2019, right after I got got married, because I got married in my late 30s. So I thought it was just going to be an easy journey for me because everybody around me, all my friends, family, they tried once and then got pregnant. So that's what I thought was going to be the case for me as well. And through our childhood education too, as well, we're taught as a kid, like if you have sex, you're just going to get pregnant right away. Like that's it. That's all I knew. Right. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, I had all this like timeline set up. And when obviously we were trying to conceive, it didn't happen. And it didn't happen for us, unfortunately, for 2 years. So we were suffering with this for 2 years. And during this time, it was hard because I started learning about, women's health, my own body. I just became, very anxious and depressed because in my mind, I didn't understand what was really going on. I was so disconnected with my body as well. So what I did was just take pregnancy tests every month, just hoping like a miracle would happen. And so obviously doing this for 2 years was so unhealthy that, I knew something needed to change. And through my journey with that, I like luckily I had my sister, a great support, and she told me something I needed to hear at the time was like, Kathy, are you truly doing everything in your power to, make the life that you want for yourself? And at the time I was really depressed and sad, and I was like, wow, those are harsh words. But that was like a wake up call for me from that point on. And she told me something I needed to hear, and I was contemplating on my whole life that like totally awakened me somehow and helped me change my mindset, because when I was in the depressed state, I was in a victim mindset where, I was like, everything's against me. Like, God hates me so much. Like, why is God punishing me? Trying to make all these narratives in my mind that made me super anxious and depressed. And so, right when she said that, I reflected and started changing my mindset. I was like, okay, I'm drinking all the time, trying to mask my depression. That's not helping, right? And then I was like, am I maximizing my fertility by eating the most healthy I can be to maybe, have this baby? And I just started looking at every aspect of my life. And then at the time, I was working a very, very stressful job too. I would work like 12-hour shifts, and it was so high demand. At the time, I had to bill my hours. I'm a patent paralegal. So in that sense, it's, like I wasn't taking care of myself. I was not taking care of my body. And, when you're trying to have a kid, you're supposed to like be in a less stressed state. You're supposed to love yourself more. And I guess that's what I was lacking. And later fast forward, I figured out like my infertility was due to endometriosis, which is a chronic illness with no cure, unfortunately. But finally getting that diagnosis helped me also understand better about my body and why it was functioning the way it was. And so I grew endometriomas. They're like ovarian cysts, but like they're filled with endometriosis cells, like the fluid in it. So it's called chocolate cysts, as a nickname, because it does look chocolate-ish, which is pretty gross. And right. But with that helped me get my diagnosis, and I was able to understand my body, and then I was able to get a laparoscopy done to get rid of those cysts that was blocking my fertility and not helping it out. And then I also like changed my diet, and then I got that laparoscopy. And then right after I went through IVF, just to like try everything in my power to make sure like if it was meant to be, it was meant to be a mom, right? Like these things you can't really, you know, determine for yourself. It's kind of up to the universe or God or whatever you believe in. And so at the time, in my mind, when I changed that mindset, was like, I'm going to try everything in my power to make sure, like, I can say that I tried everything in my power. And if it didn't work, then I knew in my heart, like, okay, that wasn't meant to be, but I need to do that and see for myself. And
Right.
so that's where my journey began with life coaching. And at the time, I was like, I felt so lonely. I felt like I was the only person going through it. But, finally knowing my diagnosis and having infertility issues, I went online, found a bunch of the same women like going through the same thing, which was such a beautiful thing to have community. And through coaching, I felt like I can help other women like not go through what I felt like I had to go through. I just didn't want anybody going through that. And so
Yeah.
that's why I started wanting to empower women and, teach them confidence to really get the life that they deserve or want. Because I was a true example of that. And obviously, through experience, you teach what you preach, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? That's a powerful story because it's a traumatic thing to go through. It's something that a lot of women do face, and it's something that I think maybe isn't talked about all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that it's meaningful that you share that. And I always say this, and I think you said it too. Typically, it's through our own struggles that we come out on the other side with something that really makes a difference for people. And that's amazing.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you again for letting me share my story and to let people understand, like, you know, that they're not alone. If someone may hear this story and just be like, oh my gosh, that's totally me, I just want to be that beacon of hope for them because at the time I didn't have any hope. And I wish there
Yeah.
was more,
Yeah.
resources like this out there. So,
Yeah. And I do know that you have a child, so I know there was a happy
yes.
ending.
Yes, yes. So through my whole story, like, yeah, I did IVF and unfortunately it got me into having a miscarriage. But like right when I let go and just took a break, I conceived naturally with my husband literally the next month after that. And
Wow.
that was such a beautiful thing. Until this day I can't believe it. I always call her my little miracle rainbow baby, So
Yeah. I
I
love
so
it.
I always so that's why after through everything that I've been through, I was like, you know, the universe or God is so great. And so I feel like that was my life purpose to share my story and help other women.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Love it. Okay. Well, on that happy note, let's talk confidence. So that's what we're focused on today, talking about confidence. And I think it's this word that we sort of all know what it is, but do we really think about it? Do we really know what it is? So my first question for you really is how do you describe what confidence means in our lives?
Yes, this is a great question. Thanks for asking that. So, I used to struggle with confidence in general growing up as a ESL kid. Like English is my second language, if you didn't know. But being confident is being so comfortable and happy with yourself, no matter what life throws at you. You're going to be resilient and you trust in yourself so much that you're going to overcome anything. And you're just authentically you and authentically happy to be you in this body that we're, blessed to have. And I think a lot of us don't have that mindset where, you do love yourself, where you're so confident in anything that you do. And confidence, shows up in every aspect of your life, through it be work, through it be your relationships, right? Even with money, are you confident? Like, are you confident in any of that? And if you just truly know your power and how strong and amazing you are, then you know that you're going to be more confident and you're going to show up more better and better. And that's how you will see it in your day to day life. Because knowing, like, for me, being an ESL kid and being the most insecure child or person growing up to be this person now, like, you would not know that used to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that completely. I still get shy occasionally, but I was a pretty shy kid. And that I've come out of my shell quite a bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, I totally get it. And confidence is interesting. I like the way you describe it because I think sometimes we think about confidence as being sort of like cockiness almost,
Mm.
just like overly confident or something, which is not really what we're talking about.
No. No, it's not. And it's okay to be cocky in a sense, but see, cocky is like being in a negative aspect. I always portray confidence as a positive thing. And if you use anything in a positive light, it will be positive. It's just how we
Yeah.
perceive life too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what you're kind of saying, I guess, in the work that you do is that helping women grow and improve their confidence really makes a huge difference in their lives. Am I right about that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it helps and when you have confidence, it helps in any aspect of their lives. Like what you said, like if someone really wants to be in a relationship, right, and they can't find their significant other, it's usually because they're lacking confidence in themselves, like, and they don't love themselves enough. So how is somebody else going to love them the way you deserve to be loved, right? And I knew this too during college days. Like I didn't love myself. Like, I just was trying to like explore, I guess, myself in college, but I didn't love myself. So a lot of men didn't respect me because I didn't respect myself. And then later on, through dating and then understanding, growing older, I understood. I was like, okay, wow, I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't set that right like expectations. And then when I did, like, I found my husband and I was so confident in myself. I was like, if you don't love me, then I can find somebody else. Like, I don't need you in my life because I love being by myself and my family. Like, but if you want to be a part of my life, you show me what you can offer to me. Like I was confident in that sense. And so, you know, when people lack confidence like that, it's because, they're lacking confidence within them. But it starts all within yourself.
Yeah. It's interesting because when you were saying that, I was thinking about what I hear referred to sometimes as kind of needy energy. Like,
Hmm.
if you take this dating story, if we're dating someone and or even making friends, I mean anything, and we come across as being kind of desperate or just like really
Yeah.
needing their attention or their affirmation or whatever it is, then that's a turn off, right? So that's
Yeah.
that, like the opposite of what we're talking about, maybe.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. It is a turnoff because people who can feel energy, and that's another great point that you pointed out is, we're all energy. Everything in this whole entire world is made up of energy. And so when you put off like this needy energy, like you're saying that other people like feel resistance. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, what is this negative?" And then, we've put it into words as needy, but it's like in a sense it's lack of confidence. They need affirmation from somebody, like something from that other person to make them feel a certain way. But when you love yourself so much and you're just so confident in yourself, you just don't need that, and you can
Yeah.
exude this beautiful energy that you have, and you'll start attracting those people to you that deserve to be a part of your life or deserve to be a part of your energy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. And I'm imagining the listeners now saying, okay, then that all sounds good. But how do I do that? So if somebody realizes that maybe they're lacking confidence, and I don't know, maybe it's a certain area of life, it's relationships or body confidence or, whatever it is, what can they do to start building that and improving that?
Yeah, so first thing is to be aware. How are you in your state of mind, right? Like when you perceive things. Like remember when I told you my story of being depressed? Like I wasn't aware that I was depressed, but I was. And my sister had to point that out to me, like that's not who you are, you know? And then I was like, "Oh, wow. Like that's true." Being aware of that. First, take the time to be aware. And then start working on yourself. Do a lot, like the best thing you can ever do for yourself if you want anything, or just want to be successful in anything that you want to do or receive in your life is to start with self-love and self-care. And those two things are separate and a lot of people combine them, but I always tell people like self-love is the emotional aspect, right? When you love your partner or your kids or your, you know, family members or your pet, right? Like the emotional feeling that you have for somebody, you need to give that love to yourself. And I think most of us don't do that. And I never gave that to myself growing up as a kid. I always put other people first. I always people pleased and thought that my life purpose was to please others. And if they were happy, I should be happy. But no, like through my infertility journey, I figured out like I never gave myself self love. Whoa. Like this was a time for me to, quiet my whole entire world and just work on myself. And so I started loving myself, taking care of it, and then doing self care things, meaning like self care things is like meditation, eating healthy, working out, journaling, right? Like taking baths for myself, doing research. Like these are all self care things, and we can all have different self care things, but these two things you should start with. And these are the basics and foundation that everybody should do in order to start having more and more things into their lives. But if you don't love yourself, again, how do you expect the universe or, your significant other to love you the way you truly deserve and want?
Yeah, good point. Why are we expecting that other people would feel more strongly about us than we do about our own selves?
Yes,
Yeah, good point.
correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of us live our lives for others, which is okay, but put yourself first. Love yourself. At least give yourself some love and then love others too. You can do that. But a lot of us don't even give ourselves love. And that's the
You're
sad part.
yeah, you're so right. And somehow it's almost become like a selfish or negative thing sometimes that, we
Yeah.
talk about this and
But
say put ourselves first and all that.
yeah, I know, but see, those people saying that it's a selfish thing, it's not selfish because, like, again, you see all these memes or quotes always saying, like, if you pour from an empty cup, like, how are you supposed to give? And that's the same concept. So those people saying that to you are being like those people who don't understand it from your point of view. Like you're like, okay, I'm so overwhelmed right now. I need to take time. That's not selfish, right? It's because they're trying to control you or do something to make you feel a certain way that it's a negative connotation to try to control whatever the situation they want to get the outcome that they want, right? So again, it's like their way of getting what they want. So they're selfish actually by saying that, right?
Good point. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the sayings about this that I have always liked because I travel quite a bit is put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Same idea. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. See, all these little principles are always showing up in our daily lives, but then there's like we don't go by it, we always go and do the opposite of what we're told to do. So this
Yeah.
is why I think like the first thing that anybody could do is just to give them self-love and self-care, and it is not selfish to love yourself, honestly. And again, it's all about perspective. Like are you doing it in a negative connotation, like by showing off? Like, I love myself so much that like everybody sucks. Like what I mean? But instead, like, it's how you show for yourself. Like for me, I love myself quietly. I literally go into the mirror and I started this and I hug myself and I just say, Kathy, you are beautiful, you're loving, and you're such a light to this world. And like at first I felt weird. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it's really weird to do, and then the more you do it, the more like you love yourself physically and you can feel like this tingling sensation and your mindset starts changing and just it's just like these beautiful things start happening, right? And energy, everything is energy, like I said. And so when we love ourselves, we're at a higher vibration. We're vibing at a higher vibration where, manifestation starts coming in and like you are what you attract again. So that's not being selfish, right? Like, it's not like you're telling other people to not do the same for themselves. It's just taking a couple minutes loving yourself is okay. So it's not a selfish thing, right?
I love that too because that's something so easy to do, and I can imagine feeling a little silly looking in the mirror and doing that at first, but so easy, and I agree that it would make a difference for sure.
Yeah, even like seriously just doing that for 2 seconds every day, you could see it slowly changing the way you are and the way you show up. And, just like taking baby little steps every day towards that, and then you become more confident when you do it. Like now I don't even do it in the mirror. I'm just like, just sometimes when I feel like it, I was like, I need to give myself some love right now. And I just do. And it feels so
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
because I've read something somewhere like when you give hugs, like, we need that physical hug to feel
yeah.
better. And why can't we do that for ourselves? And I physically like feel that, and I feel much better after that. So if anybody ever sees this, and that's a great tip that I would give someone to start with too. It's so
Yeah,
easy. It may be weird, but trust me, I do it for myself. So I think it's very, very helpful.
I love it, and I think that's a great tip, and actually, the next thing I was gonna ask you is, tell us some of these things that people can start doing, habits that we can start cultivating to improve our confidence and kind of tap into our power, and so you just gave us one, but
Yes.
are there more? What else would you say to that?
Yes, another thing that we can all do, and it's so easy, is right before bed, say three things you're grateful for. Just like being grateful and practicing gratitude is one of the easiest things to do in your daily life too. So what I do actually is every time I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say three things I'm grateful for. So you can either do it, when you wake up or go to bed, or you can do it both times. The more you do it, the better it is for you, anyways. But I'll just wake up and then I'll just be like, I'm so thankful for my husband. I'm so thankful for the house I live in. And I'm so thankful for my daughter. And this is, the three things that I'm really basic, I'm so grateful for. And it already starts your day right. Like you already start your mindset in a grateful, like positive energy. And you don't let like, your phone or the distractions get to you first. And just starting your day like that just is so much better. Or even before you go to bed, right? Like you can reflect back on the great things that happen in your day that we usually don't focus on. Like what if you saw like some beautiful like bird, or you met somebody and that you haven't seen for days, but you forget that because you always focus on the negative. Like what do I need to do tomorrow? Like, oh my gosh, my ABCDEFG list. And then you build all this anxiety and overwhelm, and then this is why we don't have good sleep. So if you practice gratitude before bed, you're like, all right, so what went well? Even though I know there has been some bad things, but let's not focus on that. Like, like what I said, like even simple things. I have water today. I have hot water. Like simple things. My belly is full. I have love. I have a family. Like, why is it so hard for us to say these things? And it really raises your vibration too.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, and it's interesting how sometimes it is hard, and I guess I mean, obviously, not every day is gonna be happy, and there could be hard things
Mhm.
going on, but, I mean, you made some good examples. There's always something if we can think, "Well, at least this happened
Yeah.
today, even though I'm going through this hard time." It still helps, I think.
Yeah, right. So just like focusing on any little thing, any positive thing in your life can be helpful. And then another thing I love for people to do is meditation. I think adding meditation to your daily life is so helpful. Honestly, just taking at least 5 minutes. And, like people associate meditation as like quieting the mind. Yes, eventually you can quiet your mind, but if you're in the beginning aspect of like trying to add this into your daily life, it's okay to have your mind run around. But, just giving yourself grace and that time to just sit down for 5 minutes trying to. And eventually, when you keep doing it, you'll practice more and more, and you'll be able to quiet that mind. You'll be able to, you're able to tame your little brain that's telling you all these things because, right, we're all animals in a sense. So, just like training an animal, right? You have to keep practicing doing it, doing it. And
Yeah.
eventually they'll get it, right?
Yeah.
Just like us. Like we want to practice on really loving ourselves and getting quieting and doing that for ourselves, giving us space to do that, to get ourselves in a parasympathetic state, like to calm our nerves. This is a great way to just calm ourselves in 5 minutes. It just takes at least 5 minutes. Try every day, and then when you get to that 5 minutes, and you're sitting there, you're like, "Whoa, 5 minutes already happened." You're ready to bump yourself up to like 10, and then more, and 15. Like before, I couldn't do 5. Now I can do at least 30 minutes, and it's beautiful.
Wow.
Like but again, it took like 3 years or 4 years of this, right? Practicing. But again, this is what I'm saying, like doing it daily, taking baby steps every day. But I think meditation was one of the greatest things that I learned for myself, for a mental aspect, for just trying to like calm my whole body, my emotional state, and my physical well-being. And it's hard for me to just sit there because we live in a fast-paced world, right? We're always
Yeah.
on the go, 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 wanting to, and it feels weird to just sit there. You're just like, whoa, why do I want to sit
Yeah.
there? But
Yeah.
again, it's training yourself to just sit in a quiet space. It doesn't even have to be quiet. You can start with guided meditations. That's what I did in the beginning. I started with guided meditations, and I think it's beautiful. And you could just do it on YouTube. Just Google like a 5 minute meditation, and then it'll guide you through it, and you're just like, okay, you feel good, you know?
Yeah. And how does that connect to then feeling more confident? Because I think this is the question I sort
Yeah.
of hear people asking is, okay, I hear you talking about meditation and I see that that might be powerful, but what's the connection?
Yeah, again, just understanding yourself. So when you sit with yourself, you're taking the time for yourself. So that's like a self-care thing. So when you know that you can get through 5 minutes, you're just like, you feel more like you feel accomplished, you feel better, and you're like, dang, I actually did that. That builds your confidence, right? Accomplishing something that you're not able to do well. And then when you practice it more and more, you're like, okay, good job. I'm so proud of you. But then you see other benefits too when you start, which is the beautiful thing too.
Yeah. And actually, a few episodes back, by the time this airs, we will have had an episode on meditation as well that will have gone more into it. So, this is perfect timing for us to be talking about that.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll put the link to that in the show notes, listeners, in case you need to go back and really, really listen more if this is resonating with you. So, yeah, clearly it's powerful and it's not something that I've been good at doing. So I have been saying to myself that I need to start. So I think now the message is coming through.
Yes. Yay. I'm glad.
So let's see. We have meditation. We have gratitude, which I fully agree with. We have self love and self care, and the idea of looking in the mirror and giving yourself a hug and telling yourself that. Fantastic places for people to start. What if someone is thinking, well, I just don't feel confident when I'm, let's take dating because that came up earlier. I just don't feel confident when I'm trying to talk to guys or women or whatever, and I don't know how to build that up and I don't know how to get that better. Do you have any kind of specific advice for that type of confidence?
Yeah. Yeah. So that type of confidence comes within yourself first, right? So like you're not confident in a way because you're already thinking of all the negative things about yourself. So when you're like talking to that person, you're like, oh, maybe I said something wrong, or like, lack of own self. So that's why self-love is so important for yourself. Like being confident in your skin and just knowing that you add value to any relationship, may it be a loved one or like a friendship, right? It all stems from within you. What you're the one who is giving your amazing energy to other people. So portray that. But a lot of people, when they talk to other people, they're already thinking about the negative. Yo, am I being weird? Am I talking too much? Or am I like, not saying the right words? Like, just focusing on other people's thoughts versus your own thoughts. Just focus on
Ooh,
yourself.
Ooh, focusing on other people's thoughts versus your own thoughts. That that resonated. And how do we even know what other people's thoughts are, right?
Exactly, exactly. So most of the time, we're making up these things in our mind when the other person's not even thinking that. They're probably thinking like, "Oh, this is so cool," or maybe they even have their insecurities too. Maybe they're thinking like the same thing as you are. So you both are thinking of the same thing and like attacking each other in a sense of like attacking your own mind. Um, so most of it is not the truth when you're thinking from that point of view. So
Yeah.
just go in with being that confident you of just loving yourself and knowing that you have amazing things to offer. And just be firm with it and just be like, okay, it was meant to be. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that's it. Don't worry
Yeah.
too much about it.
And what you're saying can, as you said, can apply to friendship. I mean, I think it
Yes.
could apply to work relationships.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff. That I agree. If we can go in saying, I have value and I'm happy about what I'm saying or doing or who I am. Wow. I mean, I can feel it. Like it feels good to be in that situation.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So again, it always just comes down to yourself and working on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, on that note, tell us how people can find you and potentially work with you, just in case this is really resonating as well.
Yes. People can find me on my website at www.kathymou.com. My name is Kathy, last name Mou. I'm not a C, I'm a K, Kathy. And then you can find me on Instagram at Kathy.Mou. Or I'm on TikTok and Facebook at Kathy Mou. So no dot.
Perfect. Perfect.